Right now, as you're watching this, you're probably thinking about your bills, your rent or mortgage, the price of groceries, the next car payment, or how much your paycheck actually stretches at the end of the month. You're thinking about your family, your future, and whether the people in power are actually telling you the truth. Because at the end of the day, politics isn't just headlines and talking points. It affects your job, your savings, your taxes, and the safety of your kids. And that's exactly why what just happened in Washington has people across the country doing a double take. A situation that was supposed to protect allies and control the narrative may have done the exact opposite. Instead of keeping attention away from sensitive documents tied to the Epstein investigation, new political moves have thrown a spotlight right back on them. And in a twist that many insiders are calling a political misfire, the very people who were expected to shield the former president may have accidentally opened the door to more questions, more scrutiny, and more pressure than ever before. This isn't just about one politician or one party. It's about trust. It's about whether powerful figures are being treated differently than ordinary Americans. It's about whether the rules are the same for everyone. And when stories like this surface, it makes people wonder if they can hide things at that level, what else is being kept from you? What started as a routine political maneuver quickly turned into a narrative that no one in that room may have expected. And now, the fallout is spreading far beyond Capitol Hill, reaching living rooms, workplaces, and kitchen tables across the country. Because when powerful people make mistakes, it's usually ordinary Americans who end up paying the price. How the Epstein files became a political time bomb. For years, the Epstein case has hovered over Washington like a storm cloud that never fully moves away. Every new document, every new witness statement, every sealed file has sparked fresh waves of speculation and outrage. And that's because Americans across the political spectrum want the same thing: answers. People want to know who knew what. They want to know who was involved. They want to know whether powerful figures were protected while victims were ignored. And when those questions go unanswered, it creates a sense that the system is rigged. The Epstein files aren't just legal paperwork. They represent years of secrecy, connections to powerful figures, and a justice system that many Americans feel failed. So whenever lawmakers start talking about those files, especially in public, it instantly becomes a political flashpoint. What makes this moment different is how it unfolded. Instead of a slow, quiet process behind closed doors, the situation exploded into the open because of a political move that may not have been fully thought through. A strategy meant to shift attention somewhere else suddenly dragged the Epstein issue right back into the center of the national conversation. And once that conversation starts, it's nearly impossible to control. Media outlets begin digging, commentators start asking questions, opponents seize the opportunity, and voters, people like you, start wondering whether you're getting the full story. That's why the Epstein files have become such a dangerous topic for politicians. It's not just about what's inside those documents. It's about what Americans believe those documents might reveal. The political move that backfired. Behind the scenes, political strategy is often about timing and messaging. Lawmakers carefully plan when to release statements, when to call hearings, and when to push certain issues into the spotlight. The goal is simple: control the narrative before someone else does. But sometimes, the best laid plans don't go the way they're supposed to. According to multiple reports and insider reactions, a recent move by Republican lawmakers was intended to handle the Epstein-related controversy in a way that would minimize political damage. The idea was to address concerns, shift focus, and move on to more favorable issues. Instead, it had the opposite effect. What was meant to be a controlled response turned into a moment that reignited attention on the former president's past connections, statements, and questions surrounding the Epstein case. Political opponents quickly seized the opportunity, framing the move as proof that there was more to uncover. Within hours, social media lit up. Newsrooms began preparing new segments. Commentators started connecting dots. And suddenly, a story that some lawmakers hoped would fade into the background was once again dominating headlines. This is the kind of political miscalculation that can change the trajectory of an entire news cycle. And when that happens, it doesn't just stay inside the halls of Congress. It spills into the public conversation, affecting how voters feel about the people asking for their support. Because if politicians can't even manage their own strategy, how can they manage the country? Why this matters to you and your family. You might be thinking, this is just another political fight in Washington. But the reality is, moments like this shape the policies, priorities, and decisions that directly impact your life. When political energy gets consumed by scandals and investigations, it often pushes real issues to the sidelines. The things that matter most to your family, like healthcare costs, job stability, inflation, and taxes, can suddenly take a back seat. Every hour lawmakers spend dealing with controversy is an hour they're not spending on legislation that could lower your bills or improve your financial future. And when political tensions rise, it can lead to government gridlock, delayed budgets, and stalled programs. That's not just a political inconvenience. That can mean delayed benefits, uncertain markets, and policies that never get passed. So when a story like this resurfaces, it's not just about headlines. It's about whether Washington is focused on solving your problems or protecting powerful people. And right now, many Americans are watching this unfold and asking a simple question: who is really being served here? The media storm begins. The moment the story broke, the media response was immediate. Networks began rolling out panels. Online outlets started pushing breaking news alerts. Social media feeds filled with commentary, speculation, and debate. This is how modern political storms work. One unexpected move, one surprising statement, one leaked detail, and suddenly the story takes on a life of its own. For political strategists, that's a nightmare scenario, because once the narrative escapes their control, it becomes almost impossible to contain. Opponents repeat the story, supporters scramble to respond, and voters are left trying to figure out what's true and what's just spin. And in a case as sensitive and emotionally charged as the Epstein files, the stakes are even higher. The public isn't just looking for political answers, they're looking for moral clarity. They want to know that justice applies to everyone, not just people without power or money. And when they see politicians fumbling around a case like this, it can shake their confidence in the entire system. The internal party tension. Inside the Republican Party, moments like this can create tension behind closed doors. Different factions often have different priorities. Some want to stay focused on economic issues, others want to fight cultural battles, and some are determined to protect party leadership at all costs. But when a political move accidentally creates more problems than it solves, it can spark frustration within the ranks. Lawmakers start asking questions. Advisors begin second-guessing decisions. Campaign teams worry about how the story will play in swing states, and donors start paying closer attention. Because in politics, perception is everything. And if voters begin to see a party as disorganized or reckless, it can have serious consequences at the ballot box. The voter reaction across the country, voters are reacting in different ways. Some see this as proof that political insiders are out of touch. Others see it as a sign of deeper issues within the system. But one thing is clear: stories involving secrecy, powerful figures, and controversial files tend to stick in the public's mind. They create doubt, they create suspicion, and they make people question whether they're getting the full truth. For many families already struggling with high costs and economic uncertainty, political drama like this feels like a distraction from what really matters. And that frustration can shape voting decisions in ways that politicians may not expect. The legal and political fallout. As the story continues to unfold, legal experts and political analysts are watching closely. Depending on how events develop, this situation could lead to new hearings, renewed investigations, or even shifts in campaign strategy. And that's where things get serious, because once legal questions enter the political arena, they can dominate the conversation for months, or even years. And when that happens, it can reshape elections, party leadership, and national priorities. For voters, that means uncertainty. It means more headlines, more investigations, and more political conflict. What comes next? Right now, no one knows exactly how this story will end. Will it fade away after a few news cycles, or will it grow into something much bigger? That depends on what comes out next. New documents, new testimony, or new political statements could all change the direction of this story. And in today's fast-moving media environment, a single revelation can reshape the entire national conversation overnight. At the end of the day, this isn't just about one party or one politician. It's about accountability. It's about transparency. And it's about whether the people in power remember who they're supposed to work for: you, your family, your future. When political missteps bring hidden issues back into the spotlight, it reminds Americans that staying informed isn't optional. It's essential. Because the decisions made in Washington don't stay in Washington. They show up in your paycheck, your grocery bill, your retirement account, and your kids' future. So as this story continues to develop, keep paying attention, ask questions, demand answers, and make sure your voice is part of the conversation. Because in a democracy, the most powerful force isn't a politician, a party, or a headline. It's an informed voter. And that voter is you.